All right. So leading off, Eve and Ted will not be here from ENF. So you got me for whatever that's worth. So I'll just jump right into the agenda. Let me go ahead and share the screen. All right. All right.
So the first couple meetings, I thought that was your actual background. Sorry.
All right. So first of all, so we have the RFPs that are out. But one thing that we sort of touched on in the Monday meeting is that with the holidays impending, at minimum, we need to readjust the dates, not just for the P2P peer discovery, but also the RAM limitation fixes, just to make sure that the coalition has enough time to really thoroughly discuss things, for the vendors to have time to, properly respond with all of their internal resources. So I guess a quick thing we need to know is there any concerns of us adjusting the dates to essentially skip over the holidays and repick them up in January? I also know, before we answer that, there's other concerns that we've talked about, like we want to make sure we go through some financial review exercises and budgeting exercises. I don't necessarily think we need to go into that. I'm really just looking for a vote to say, is the coalition okay with us pushing these dates off the published ones in the RFP?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I believe we agreed that the last 2 weeks of December, we would not have our scheduled ceremonies because people are traveling, people are going to be out of pocket. I'm already in Canada, and my schedule is clearing out after this week, so I will not be available until first week of January.
So I'm assuming that's a yes then.
That's a yes for me, but I can't vote for TELOS and UX.
It's a yes for me as well. Gives me time to work.
Yeah,
love it.
I think I'll take credit. I was the one who said we should just not do anything until next year. So. Yep,
you did. I will give you that credit. And this is probably the only thing I've been authorized to say yes to. So that'll be unique. I will get those updated. We'll publish the dates shortly to make sure all the vendors and such are aware. But otherwise, we'll kind of pick these things up in a couple weeks. And so related to that P2P peer discovery, there was, again, some discussion around that, but I think, let me hold on a second. Probably took some notes. No, I did not. So we had just a summary, we had the proposals come back. People have had the opportunity to read them, but what we kind of need to have a broader discussion around the evaluation of the vendors, and I think we were going to have a follow-up meeting on that. But again, I would reference back to the holiday discussion. I don't think we're going to have time to do that before the beginning of the year. The other component, just for the recording, is that the coalition is going through its 2023 budgeting cycle. And so we do know that needs to be completed first. I don't have a timeline on that yet, but it is a top priority. And so once that discussion is completed, then the final evaluation of, selecting the vendor and moving forward and negotiating with P2P will be able to occur. Did I capture that right? Does anybody have any things they want to amend to that for the recording today?
No, that sounds like what we discussed to me.
All right, perfect. Next one, RAN limitation fixes. It's just the RFPs in process. We'll have more information on that when we get back from our holiday break. Antler CDT, I can give you the update that project plans are being leveled, broken out. This program of the CDT is being essentially broken into subcomponents. I think there's 8 or 9 sub projects in there, so we could manage the risk of each individually. At the beginning of January, I hope to be able to have something published in, if nothing else, the ENF's public program report that we'll end up publishing about a week into January. It'll have all the individual dates, but ultimately the goal is to have the scope finalized and everything built and ready for, final runway testing by the end of February, beginning of March, somewhere in that time frame. Don't want to give exact dates right now, but that is kind of the overall on that. All right, next one, Ledger app. Have we heard back from them yet? Oh, this is the wrong one. I was actually asking about Treasure. I can't give an update on this. I do know Eric's been engaged with them from ENF, but I can't provide a more detailed update today. We'll try to circle back to this next time. Development workshops. So there were 2 more meetings scheduled. I don't know if they have occurred or not. I will try to get you guys an update on that as soon as possible. Again, Ted is unavailable today, but I know he's been engaged with OCI on this. Guillaume, have you had any more contact with them kind of in that separate thread?
Not really. There's been a few discussions that are not really related to this, but regarding developer onboarding and workshops, no, we haven't really discussed that.
Okay. All right, moving to the next one, we'll kind of group IF and IBC together. Guillaume, you did have the new item for the security audit that you wanted to talk about today. So
Yep.
why don't you take over?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, we received the final report that just there was just a small thing to change, so they're just correcting it and sending it back. But then I'll share it with you guys. And essentially, it's the external audit report. They found 0 critical or major or even low priority issues with it. They had 5 remarks, but these remarks are just like kind of FYI, this, that, just so you're aware. So this is not this is essentially like complete and we're ready for deployment. So what's going to happen next is I'll need one more thing from each of the chains, which will be this I guess like naming convention that we discussed in previous calls. Like as we agreed, each chain will be responsible for a naming convention that will now be essentially like will determine the name of the contracts that are used in IBC. And then once I have that, I will need every chain to also sign at least 1 MSIG, probably 2, to create the first account, which is the SIO IBC. And then what I would suggest is on each of the chains, we would essentially configure everything ourselves. And then once we're ready, we just turn over everything to the SIO prods on each chains. And then at that point, everything is done. Everything is good to go. And we can enable it, like flip a switch at any point to turn it on. So unless anyone has any objections of about this way of proceeding, this is what I would suggest. And we would be working on that during the holidays so that early January, we're able to activate that feature.
Exciting. Fantastic.
Indeed. So I'll, if that's okay, I'll give you guys like a few days, let's say like until Monday or something, to come up with that with that naming convention. If you don't, at that point, I'll just use a default one, and I will start preparing everything, and with the intent of having the M6 ready for BP's approval in early January.
And there's still the one that was in the paper as a
Correct.
a sort of a default.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair.
Exactly. And then there's one essentially PR per system contract to be done to essentially enforce that naming convention. So I will also submit the PR to your respective GitHub repos or whatever way, whatever preferred way you want to handle that. So I can reach out to you guys individually to just make sure I do it the way that you're expecting. It's just a one-liner.
And just to confirm, we're recording and publishing this call, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so the timelines that you just shared are things that we can discuss with our communities about, IBC progress and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any
So,
more?
other than that, no, I think everything is going very well on the IBC side, on the instant finality as well. Everything is going very good. We should have some. We just completed one more milestone for IBC. We're expecting to have our first one done also for instant finality in early January. So it took a bit longer due to essentially like the lack. I mean the very few people that are able to review these things, but it's moving forward. So everything's great.
Awesome. It's been a couple weeks. Aaron, why don't you give us an update on the Wallet SDK, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. We've been doing our calls still. They are pretty much bi-weekly. And again, if you ever want to catch up on those, they're on wharfkit.com. We've been publishing them there. Right now, or I guess I should say last week, we published the first really early access version of the session kit, which is how it's going to be performing transactions. It's not meant for production quite yet, but we do want developers to maybe start experimenting with it. There will be one of the first guides published on that sometime in the near future. We are writing the guide right now, as well as figuring out how guides fit into the website. I guess leading into that, we have been spending the last week or so really fleshing out what the full website's going to look like, how it's going to it's going to kind of be marketing, it's going to be reference material, and it's going to be education. So it's coming together. Those are the three big things that the website will feature. The other kits are not published yet, the account kit and the contract kit. There's been quite a bit of progress on the account kit, but we're still kind of fleshing all of that out. If you're looking just purely at the progress reports, the milestone 2 was to publish the kits, and we had estimated a date of that at the beginning of December. We're kind of mid-December now. That milestone's probably like 75% complete, but we are shifting around into milestones 3 through 5, I want to say. And you'll also notice progress on those as well. So that milestone itself is behind, but it's not for a lack of progress overall. It is just that we felt it was best to shift into some of the future milestones before we submitted milestone 2 for approval, because they are just so intertwined with how they all interact with each other. So we are making good progress on everything, I would say, overall. But I'm just saying all this as an overview of if you're just purely looking at reports without context. So I think the only detriment in that milestone not being completed was just that, like, the progress is happening out of order, and most of the detriment is probably to us because we're not getting paid for that yet. So we are still pushing ahead. There's no major blockers. We're hopeful that like within Q1 of next year, that we're actually going to have the UI components all tied in, and that we'll have kind of an early access release that replaces both EOS.js and UAL, and can serve as a early access to this new way of integrating with everything. Stuff's coming together really nicely. And hopefully some of the guides and the prototypes that we'll be pushing out for the server side aspect of all of this will kind of show the flexibility that we can have while building applications.
So would it be accurate to say, Aaron, if I recall, that in that report, the schedule went yellow, but it's only because of internal milestones shifting around, but it's not going to red because at present time, there's no risk perceived to the overall project schedule. It's just the order's a little different. Is that correct?
Yeah. And if you recall, like we originally proposed one set of milestones, and then within the first month, we're like, oh, this isn't right. And even now we're looking back at that revised thing and we're like, well, we weren't 100% accurate on this was going to be the path we're taking. And that's why we're already veering into future milestones before finalizing, milestone 2.
Sure.
The sequence of all of this is moving, it's shifting around, but the overall progress itself is on track.
Perfect. Good. Any questions for the SDK from anybody else? Okay. Now the new agenda items, I actually don't think there's too much to talk about in these. The provable state domains. This is just, again, impacted by holidays, work. So the requirements for writing up that RFP, it's just still continuing to go a little slowly. Next one, sign up for external orgs to get security updates. We didn't quite decide to put this in the backlog because it's important, but this is probably something we need to table till January. We have thrown a couple short-term ideas out there. For example, people can sign up to watch things on GitHub and other things, but that is escalated into discussion of, well, there can be more than that could provide value both to us to know who's following, and also for people following, maybe they can, get a little bit more insights. Does anybody see a reason to go into that more today, or again, is there kind of agreement we'll just punt this to January? All right, I'll take that as we're good. Next one, coalition top up to fund RFPs. I briefly, this obviously is related to the 2023 budgeting discussion, so this will be picked up in January. And then the last item in the agenda is scheduling P2P vendor reviews. This is tied into the first couple things we talked about, which is we're going to redo or extend the schedule to handle the end of the year holidays. So we will also pick this up as a needed item in January. So with all of that, there is one other logistical item. We did vote as a chain to cancel this meeting next week and the week after, so it'll pick up in 3 weeks for the viewers. There's also the Monday workshop meeting. We did not really discuss that, but my question is, do we want to have this next week, the week after? And then also January 2nd is a Monday. That's a holiday in quite a number of places. So that would be canceling the Monday meeting for the next 3 weeks if we wanted to do that.
I'm going to suggest that we do. The biggest part of the biggest value I see of the Monday meeting is allowing us to talk through things that we can then share with the rest of the group on Thursday. And so having it outside of that context doesn't really seem to make much sense. Plus, I think they'll be sparsely attended. So why don't we just say,
Any other thoughts?
Agreed. 100% agreed.
My dog agrees.
I think everybody in there. Oops. Yes.
Oh, I don't vote though, so you have to ask Jesse. I was just proposing that.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
All right. Okay. Capture that. So that's it. Does anybody else have any other things you want to cover today?
Not in this meeting.
All good.
I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Great seeing
Thanks,
you.
gentlemen. This has
Happy
been,
holidays,
it's actually
guys.
been fun
Happy
working
holidays,
with you guys.
everyone.
It's been fun
Yeah.
working with you guys this year. Getting to know you guys. I look forward to talking to you guys in a couple weeks.
We have done so much in this year. I think everybody here should be really proud. I'm proud of you, and can't wait to see what we do in 2023. So enjoy a well-earned, vacation time off with your family, whatever you choose to do.
I'm here, my friends. Have
All
a
right.
good one. Happy holidays.
guys.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.